For all of us that went to sleep last night and woke up this morning wanting a taste of a Super Bowl victory, hit the sub button down below. Because if you want to play in New Orleans next year, February 2025, join the channel because this is going to be the #1 Cleveland Browns YouTube channel for this upcoming season. What's going on, everyone? Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report. On tap for today, we're going to look at the free agents between the Chiefs and the 49ers and talk about which of those teams' free agents could end up in Cleveland this upcoming offseason. Now, let's kind of begin our conversation with an unfortunate reminder, which is the Browns have negative $19 million in cap space. They are $19 million over the salary cap. Now, that does not mean the Browns can't sign a single player. They will obviously get below the salary cap, and on a previous video of mine, I actually went through 5 steps to get about $50 million in cap space. So they have it in them to get a whole bunch of room to sign a bunch of players if they really want to. That's the ultimate question. Does Andrew Berry want to be a big spender this offseason, kick the can down the road, go all in, or does he want to maybe settle things down and maybe make a signing or two, but mostly bank on the draft and bringing back former players? But let's start off with the Kansas City Chiefs free agents. So here they have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, pass. Mecole Hardman, we talked about a lot last offseason. I could have some interest, but not a ton. Donovan Smith, no. Chris Jones, okay. Mike Danna, Derrick Nnadi, Willie Gay Jr, Drue Tranquill, L'Jarius Sneed, Mike Edwards, some really good defensive players. Let's take a closer look at Chris Jones, though, right? He's obviously the biggest name of the bunch. He's been an all-pro defensive tackle. He comes off 10.5 sacks in 2023. Got a reworked one-year contract for last season. And I get the sense that Kansas City, similar to Tyreek Hill, will say, thank you for your services, but we're ready to move on and go a different direction, which means Chris Jones will test the open market. Now, Spotrac comes out with contract projections for all the marquee free agents, and they are projecting, and again, their projections are based on stats, age, and similar signings, that Chris Jones gets a 3-year, $85 million contract. That's an average of a little over $28 million a season, which would make him the second highest paid defensive tackle behind Aaron Donald. I know Chris Jones would love to become the highest paid defensive tackle, but that might not be in the cards for him this offseason. If the Browns were to go out and sign Chris Jones, it does not get more all in than this, right? They don't have like a dire need at defensive tackle. Don't get me wrong, they do have to find a way to either replace or bring back some of their key guys last year, like Jordan Elliott, Maurice Hurst, and Shelby Harris. But those 3 players going away doesn't mean the Browns have to sign Chris Jones. But if Cleveland truly feels like, listen, our path to a Super Bowl is getting together the best defense possible and create an absolute dominant defensive line, and Chris Jones is the best defensive tackle in football right now, F it, why not? I mean, this would be one of those F it, let's go get Chris Jones, put him next to Myles Garrett, and if we have to win a Super Bowl by sacking Patrick Mahomes 3 times in the AFC Championship game, so be it. And maybe that's the way it gets done. But trust me, if the Browns are, I wouldn't just say serious about winning a Super Bowl, but if they truly do feel like 2024 is their year, and this is a all-in, boomer bust type of season, Chris Jones would be a signing that shows that. So let me know, would you sign Chris Jones? Yes or no? I don't think he was, how do I want to say this? There was a tiny little step back, I feel like, in 2023 compared to previous years. Now, when you play at a super high level, it's not easy to stay at the top of the mountain every single season. He was not a bad defensive tackle by any stretch. But I do kind of wonder now that he's got some rings on his fingers, could he maybe take the bag and kind of check out a little bit? That's my only little hesitation. But other than that, I mean, Chris Jones is a freak. He's a monster. He's incredible. But I do wonder with the Super Bowl victories, he's like, all right, now I'm going to go get paid and maybe kind of ride off into the sunset as I get towards the end of my career. Just something to play devil's argument, if you will, devil's advocate, if you will, because who wouldn't want to sign Chris Jones? Now, two other guys that were on that free agency list I want to talk about are Willie Gay and Drue Tranquill. So both linebackers for the Chiefs that have had some really good stretches throughout their careers in Kansas City. Drue Tranquill, a first-round pick, if I remember correctly. Willie Gay Jr., one of their better linebackers throughout their runs over the last couple of years. When you look at Cleveland's linebacker room, Anthony Walker and Taki are impending free agents this upcoming offseason. JOK is the only one under contract. I mean, Jacob Phillips and Matthew Adams, they're going to be free agents. I haven't seen enough from Tony Fields to feel like he's ready to step into a starting role in the final year of his rookie contract. I personally don't believe Cleveland, though, will be big spenders at linebacker. They just extended Grant Delpit. They don't have a ton of money to spend, even if they do generate some extra cap space to get them further in the green once they get back to at least zero. I feel like their resources are going to be spent at wide receiver and some playmaking abilities on defense on the line. I'm not quite sure it's going to be a run-stopping linebacker. That, to me, feels like a job for the draft, right? Especially when you factor into account the Browns are likely going to look to extend Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah if he has another great season in 2024. So not a lot of teams are spending a lot of money on linebacker, let alone two linebackers. So for that reason, I wouldn't hold your breath on the Browns outbidding the Chiefs to get Willie Gay Jr. or Drue Tranquill over to the land. Now, next up on the show, we're going to talk about 49ers free agent targets. If you think it's bad in some parts of the country, like, I don't know, the rest of the AFC West, got to figure that the 49ers fan base is down in the dumps right now. But before we get to that, I do want to tell you all about our sponsor today, which is Game Time. So if you are thinking of going to a local sporting event, wherever you live, a concert, a comedy show, a musical, whatever it might be, get started with Game Time today, because what they're giving the Dog Pound is $20 off your first purchase when you download the Game Time app. If you want to go see the best team in the NBA, the Cleveland Cavaliers, download Game Time. Use code BROWNSCHAT and get $20 off. If you want to go see some spring training or you want to see a concert, whatever it may be, Game Time has you covered. And one of my favorite features about them is you can get an awesome bird's eye view of your seat before you purchase your tickets. So get started with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app. Redeem the code BROWNSCHAT for $20 off. Now, I put all that information in the comments and description just in case you forgot. But shout out to Game Time for supporting the channel. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Let's switch gears to the 49ers free agents. Sam Darnold, Chris Conley, Charlie Woerner, Jon Feliciano, Ben Bartch, Chase Young, Randy Gregory, Javon Kinlaw, Kevin Givens, and Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles. None of the offensive players move the needle much for me. But I think we can all agree there's a certain someone on defense that I'm sure some fans would love to see return to the Buckeye State, and that is Chase Young. Now, Chase Young is an interesting player right now, right? He goes into free agency after having his fifth-year option declined last offseason by the Commanders. He is traded for a third-round pick at the NFL trade deadline to the 49ers. He had a pretty good year, 7.5 sacks, 7 tackles for loss. There were a lot of highs with Chase Young. He was dominant in the Super Bowl, so if you're looking for a guy that can play at the highest level, someone that's got some experience, I could see Andrew Berry having some interest in him. But there are also some lows, which we'll talk about in a moment. But the Spotrac contract projection is very unique, I would say. This is Spotrac. 1 year, $13 million. I think Chase Young is going to get a multi-year contract. Given his age and some of his awesome background and resume, NFL Rookie Defensive Player of the Year, I feel like a team is going to be willing to take a chance on him and give him a 3 or 4 year contract. But maybe every team decides, listen, there are some concerns with signing Chase Young to a long-term deal. So let's do a 1 year contract. $13 million isn't chump change. And if it works out great, awesome. You're going to be a free agent next offseason, and you can cash in again. If it doesn't, well, good on us for not sinking our teeth in long-term. I do have some concerns with Chase Young. The lack of effort at times concerns me. What all went down in Washington where he goes from being at the top of the mountain, second overall pick, NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, and then he tears his ACL. And that's a bummer. That sucks. That's out of his control. But then we hardly see him at all the following season. There were rumors that there were concerns about his approach and effort to his rehab process. There were concerns about his lack of leadership. The Commanders, despite having really good progress early on from Young, opt to not pick up his fifth-year option, which, listen, fifth-year options are not going to make or break the salary cap for you. Like, if you are even on the fence about picking it up, you should probably pick it up, because if not, and they ball out, you're going to be paying twice as much in free agency. So the fact that Washington didn't pick up his fifth-year option, and then he's traded away at the deadline, which, okay, the Commanders are resetting. But the fact that he went for less than Montez Sweat, if I told you guys in August, September, Chase Young gets traded for less than Montez Sweat, you laugh at me in the comment section. But maybe that's how the entire NFL views Chase Young, right? The guy's actually in charge. The guy's making the decisions. The GMs, they value Montez Sweat higher than Chase Young, and that's going to carry over into free agency. So I think Chase Young, when he's on, he's great. Is he one of the best defensive players in football? Probably not. But when he's off and he's not even bothering to go 100% as Jahmyr Gibbs runs past him into the end zone in the NFC Championship game, I get my concerns about his effort. And how bought in is he year-round? You know what I mean? Or is he someone that might get the bag and then all of a sudden deuces? So I've got my concerns with Young, like I said. However, if there is a couple of people that can get him, into shape a little bit, Myles Garrett and Jim Schwartz seem like great candidates to do so. So it'd be really cool for all the Buckeyes fans watching to get Chase Young, obviously, back in Ohio, playing for the Browns. And we've seen a lot of Ohio State players come to Cleveland, and so I wouldn't rule this one out, but I don't know if the Browns are going to be looking to spend big money for a guy that has a bit of a checkered past through 4 seasons in the NFL. But let me know, would you sign Chase Young? S for sign, P for pass. The Browns have had a bit of a rotating door at that opposite defensive end of Myles Garrett. You know what I mean? Went through Olivier Vernon, and then it was Jadeveon Clowney, and then it was L'Jarius Smith. Is Chase Young going to be the one that sticks? Or is this just going to be a one-year signing that ultimately doesn't help the Browns' defensive line enough where they were smart to pass on bringing back someone like L'Jarius Smith? One other guy from the 49ers I want to talk about is Javon Kinlaw. First-round pick back in 2020 out of South Carolina to San Francisco. Unfortunately for Kinlaw, injuries have been a major issue. Played 4 seasons with the Niners. Only 2023 did he play an entire season, start to finish. PFF didn't give him the kindest grade, 90th out of 130. Now, last season, yesterday and before, was the best year of his NFL career, mostly due to all the availability they had with him in 2023 compared to previous years. He went off for 25 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, 6 QB hits, a lot of these career highs. He also was not a starting defensive tackle for them. They had Javon Hargrave come over from Philly in free agency, right? They had Eric Armstead. Kinlaw was a rotating member. He was almost their Maurice Hurst, if you will, in terms of snaps. Now, we have seen Andrew Berry make very similar signings, especially on the defensive line, right? Remember Tristan Hill? He was signed last year. He was a part of the Browns DT competition. Ultimately, he did not make it, but he was a second-round pick by the Dallas Cowboys, okay? We've seen the Browns bring on, Takk McKinley, first-round pick out of the Falcons. Ultimately, didn't really work out. So we have seen Andrew Berry target previously high-drafted players with really good athletic traits that for one reason or another, whether it's injuries or attitude issues or effort or just production, didn't work out with the original team. But Andrew Berry is there to get sloppy seconds. And I wonder if he thinks Javon Kinlaw is someone that, hey, I'm interested in Kinlaw for a very cheap 1-year near veteran minimum contract because he didn't produce a whole lot in his 4 years with San Francisco. And I can try and get that first-round talent out of him. Just something to keep an eye on. To wrap up the show, let's pick a card. We've got Mr. Cullen with a very detailed card selection process. What is it today?
Okay. Super Bowl 58, if you add up 5 and 8, it's 13.
Yeah.
February 11th, 2 plus 11, 13.
13.
Okay. 49ers, 4 plus 9, 13.
Oh, my goodness.
Let's see.
Hit, dude.
Chiefs wins with Kelsey, 13. Plays on the game-winning drive for the Chiefs last night, 13. Halftime score, 10-3, 13. Taylor Swift, born on the 13th. I was also born on the 13th, but that's a story for another day. So if you think of the 13th card in a deck, if ace is low, it's a king. And I just believe it in my heart that it's going to be the case today. So long story short, King of Hearts.
You sold me. I'm going to go King of Spades. I'm going to ride your coattails all the way to this. That was the best reasoning I've ever seen given. I hope this hits. I want you to get it more than I do. Ready? Not even fucking close. 7 of diamonds. That sucks. Damn. I really felt like that was your day. What was the next card? No, 5 of hearts. Okay, doesn't matter. All right, we'll let you guys get on out of here. Enjoy your Monday, and make sure to subscribe to the channel as we all head into, as an entire country, all football fans, hibernation until 2024.